Alright guys, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time and I just haven't had the chance. But today, it is my 33rd birthday. So I told Kaylee and my family, I said instead of going out to eat, let's do something I've been wanting to do. And that is Dutch oven, salt crusted prime rib. Now I've never done this before, but I've watched a lot of videos, I've read some articles on it, and they say it's really pretty easy. So we're gonna try it out today. So what you're gonna need, obviously, is some prime rib. Now let me tell you guys, this stuff is not cheap. It is basically golden meat. We got a 10-pound prime rib for $140 at Costco. Yeah, $140, but it should feed my family and it should be super good. You're gonna need a Dutch oven. This is a 12-inch Camp Chef Dutch oven, but I would recommend that you get the deeper Dutch oven. This isn't a deep Dutch oven, so I actually had to take my tape measure into Costco with me and had to measure the meat. Now it's been a few years since I measured my meat, but this prime rib measured out to be about 18 inches long and just under 4 inches tall, which is good because this is only a 4-inch Dutch oven. And really what you want is an inch of salt below the meat and on top of the meat. So it's gonna be a tight cram, but we're gonna make it work. We also had to cut it in two because obviously it was way too long, so we're gonna do 2 different prime ribs and 2 different Dutch ovens, which is okay because some of my family likes their meat super well done. Me and the cool ones of the family like it medium rare. You're gonna need a rub, and all this is, I made this up myself, there's 100 different recipes, but you need about a cup of salt, 1/4 cup of pepper, 2 tablespoons of basil, and then I just cut up about 10 garlic cloves and put in there. You're gonna need some olive oil, and you're gonna need a ton of salt to cover your meat in the Dutch oven. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna score our meat, or scour our meat, or whatever they call it. We're gonna make little cuts in the fat of the prime rib. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut about 5 to 6 1/4-inch deep cuts on the top, and then on the bottom of the prime rib. This will allow some of that rub to get in there and kind of marinate through the meat a little bit better and give it that better flavor. So once you do the top, just flip it over and just do the bottom. Probably not as deep on the bottom because there's not nearly as much fat, but just do, like I said, 5 to 7 or 8 to 9 to 10, however many you want. There you go. Alright, so once you've scored the meat or scoured the meat, what you're just going to do is take a little bit of olive oil, just lightly drizzle it on top, and then I just will rub it in with my hands. And you'll flip it over, get the front side of that, and then pour a little more on the back, the bottom, and do the same thing. What the olive oil will do is it gives it a little bit of flavor, but it will mostly just help the rub stick to your meat. Alright, once you give that baby her nice olive oil dress to wear, you're going to take your rub and you are going to not be sparing, but you're just going to douse this thing with your pepper and garlic and salt and basil. And I just like to make a little pile like that, and then I'll just kind of push it in and rub it around. Like I said, you don't have to be that sparing because you're not going to get a ton of this flavor inside the meat. You just want to make it a nice crust on the outside. If you've ever had a good prime rib, they usually always have a really good crust. Once you have it nice and coated and that beautiful crust that's going to erupt once you cook it, you're going to want to let it marinate. Now a lot of times people will let these marinate for 24 hours or 12 hours, but since I'm always behind the 8 ball like I am today, I'm going to let this thing marinate for about 2 to 3 hours. I'm going to finish this one, but while you guys wait, why don't you guys just go chill out and marinate or something, okay? After a few hours or a day or 4 weeks, however long you want to marinate these, it is time to put them in the Dutch oven. Now what you want to do is you want to get some kosher salt, some rock salt, some food grade rock salt. You don't want table salt, it can't be super fine. But what you're going to use the salt for is you're going to keep it off the actual Dutch oven so it doesn't burn, so it creates layer. So what you're going to want to do first is put, if you have room, an inch of salt in the bottom, put your meat on, and then put salt over the top. My Dutch oven isn't big enough, so I'm going to probably do about a 1/2 inch on bottom, 1/2 inch all around the meat. Just pour it wide and far, far and wide. Just make a nice little layer there on the bottom of your Dutch oven, like so. Smooth it around, just like patty cake. Casey's a baker and a meat cooker. So once you have your layer down, then you're just going to take your prime rib, make sure it's nice and coated all the way around, and you're just going to set it right in the middle of that, like so. Once it's in there, you finish your coating of salt with more salt, obviously. Now I'm sure you're thinking, now Casey, that is going to be some salty meat. Well, it might be, but we enjoy salt. But also what I've read and watched on YouTube is you actually don't pick up any salt flavor from the rock salt itself. The only salt you'll have is from your rub that you made earlier and rubbed on the meat and let marinate. So you're not going to pick up a ton of extra salt. Basically what you're wanting to do is you don't want any of the meat to actually be able to touch the pan. So you want to keep it away, and that's what you use the salt for, is a layer. And voila. So when you're done, it looks like you went out and caught a bucket full of snow. Just like that. You shouldn't be able to see any of your meat. And then you want to put your lid on and make sure the lid is not going to touch the top of your meat, which is a perfect fit. The salt touches a little bit, but the meat stays away. And now, we're ready to go start cooking. The next part is we cook the prime rib, and the way we're going to do it is with the charcoal, obviously. And what you want to do is get it up to 350 degrees. So, you know, there's so many different opinions and stuff about what will get you to 350, but what I learned is 350 is a pretty common temperature for cooking, you know, let alone in a Dutch oven or in the oven. But 8 coals underneath, and then just surround the top, and it's usually 14 to 16 coals, and we'll get you about 350. Now these coals will only last about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, so you're gonna have to change them out because this will take upwards of 2 to 3 hours, just depending on how thick your meat is. So I've got 8 coals down there started, 14 on top. We're gonna throw it on. We can always change it if I don't feel like it's hot enough. I'll throw some more on there, but we'll get it started and see how it turns out. All right, guys, we have been cooking this prime rib for 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're gonna pull the lid off and see how it looks. Oh man, just like it's supposed to. It's supposed to encrust in the salt, which makes the barrier so it doesn't burn the edges, but make the inside juicy. Let's pull that and cut it open and see what it tastes like. There she is. It smells amazing. Let's look how it did. Perfect. Perfect medium. Let me just tell you guys the problem with this is once you start cooking this, I'm not kidding, people start coming out of the woodwork to eat it.
Whoa. What is that? Wow.
What? That smells good.
It's like Michael Jackson's Thriller. I want a piece of that.
Is dinner ready?